Oh, shall we go and get into specifics? Are we getting
Let's
into
do it.
specifics? Let's get into specifics.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to No Drama, Just Movies, and we are back this week with another TV review. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned with all the content that we produce each and every week in the world of TV and movies. My name is Cameron. Time travel is a bitch. Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
Phil, it's the circle of bites, Corwin.
Oh, I like that one. I like that one. Of course, if you haven't guessed it already, but of course you should have because of the title of this video, we are here to review none other than episodes 9 and 10, the final two episodes of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney Plus. Now, of course, we are going to get to the final episode specifically, episode 10, had so much, I felt, so much going on, so much, which I loved. And obviously we will get to what is what I felt at first was the big twist. I'm not too sure how this then manifests. And when I say the big twist, I'm referring to, the names that we just used in our introduction there. At least
Oh,
what
yeah.
first felt like a big twist, but now I'm not too sure what the ramifications are for it. But we will get to that in a second. To go off, in terms of these two episodes, once again, I love this show, man. I love this show. And
Okay.
by the end of episode 10, one thing I realized, which I did feel a couple weeks back, when I say a couple weeks back, last week, was that I think that this Spider-Man animated show, I think, has every single ingredient necessary to make it the animated Spider-Man show of this generation. I think
Yeah.
that as we go forward, obviously we don't know how many seasons it will be.
Mm.
I think this is the one. I feel like we've hit it. We've really, I think, got something special here that I think can really just build to becoming what I think will and can become the animated Spider-Man show of this generation for years to come. And that is a reflection of how I felt about these two episodes. Loved it. I'm gonna miss this show. I am actually gonna miss it.
It's coming back. It is coming back.
It is, but I think
Yes,
that's the thing as well with the way, and we'll get onto that. But in fact, I'll touch upon it now with the
Yeah.
way that Marvel, and I'm talking about Marvel Studios as a whole in regards to their live action movies, their live action TV shows, their animated shows, they don't exactly seem to come out quickly. It seems as if we have kind of got to that place with Disney and Marvel at the moment where, even when you look at live action, certain characters or properties, like let's say a Shang-Chi that came out many years ago, you're waiting many years
Ready.
before a sequel or even a reappearance of that character happens. X-Men 97, it seems like by the time that new season comes out, we could be looking at 2026. And your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, I think there's a chance that you could be waiting maybe even 2 years before this show comes back, especially with how long animation takes to do. But what was your impression of these final two episodes?
I think it's a great ending to the first season. Like you said, it sets up a lot of things in the final episode, and it just yeah, like all the way through. I love the fight scenes in general, but especially like when we get into Tombstone and Spidey fighting the Scorpion. That fighting was just awesome, those two together. And just how Spidey uses his surroundings and how he swings, and it's very fluidly animated as well. So I don't know how exactly they did it. It's almost a little too fluid for animation, so I'm not sure how that works. It's like baffles my mind. Um, but the story as well, like I really liked some of these characters that have actually grown on me in the last episodes. Like I loved oh, shall we go and get into specifics? Are we getting
Let's
into
do it.
specifics? Let's get into specifics. Um, I loved like Hugh Dancy as Octopus. I knew him before, like from only from Hannibal. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's a very, very like serious role in a very, very serious show. and just to see him as like just the amount of fun he has as Doc Ock at the beginning of the episode 9.
Mm,
It's just fun to watch and what he does with his voice as well, just where the range of where his voice goes.
mm,
And then obviously like Hudson Thames, I don't think we've mentioned him before, like his Spider-Man is just fun as well. Like he's
great.
very breezy and like he's got that like the perfect Spider-Man delivery, I think.
Mm.
So it's just awesome following these people and like the voice actors. Um and yes, I think that I guess reveal was really fun. Like I love that. I love
Which
so
one?
um all the reveal. The the time travel reveal basically
Mm,
was like my favorite because I love stories that like revolve circle around basically where the yeah a bootstrap paradox I think it is where Norman essentially creates the spiders from Peter's spider blood and then
mm,
the spider that he creates bites Peter and creates the spider. It's yeah,
mm,
and how this all turns around. Like you said, I'm not sure what it means or if it
mm.
means anything other than oh look, here's a cool way of telling Spidey's origin story. But I don't know, maybe if they continue that in the second season or yeah, something.
I mean, that's the thing, right? That's why I said that when I watched it, I was like, what? Like, that's why I said this is the big twist. But now it's the big twist with a question mark. Because I want to dissect this a bit because I
Mm,
was trying to wrap my head around it. Because, when Strange appears, when Norman is giving his speech to everybody and basically reveals a bit more of his crookish ways and that he's made this machine that can basically allow you to go to different, worlds, galaxies, whatever it is, or with multiple different dimensions or whatever.
it does
When
something.
Strange, pardon?
It does something. That
Yeah,
science
you
stuff.
know. But when Strange appears, and Norman is telling him about the incident at Midtown, Strange doesn't remember.
Yeah.
He is questioning, like, wait, what's going on there? Which I thought was interesting. When that happened, I was like, wait, hold on, wait, what's going on here? Um, and then later on, Strange reveals to Spidey, well, Spidey asks Strange, so you time traveled? And Strange says yes. And so the question I have is that did Strange not remember that he
Hmm.
time traveled?
I think that event was still in that stranger's future. So he hadn't done it yet,
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
which
So
yeah.
so basically what we saw so basically what we're saying that what we saw at the on the first episode of Spider-Man was future Strange and
Yes.
that this Strange hadn't experienced that just yet.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, because I was thinking, so because the way that I saw it at first is I was like, okay, crap. So the beginning of the Spider-Man show that we watched, the very first episode of Your Friend Neighbor Spider-Man, in my mind, I was like, okay, so this is a different universe, right? Which I guess in theory it kind of is. It's a different timeline, at
Yeah.
least based on the science that they've
No.
kind of tried to ingrain in us in with the multiverse stuff they've been doing across the MCU. Um, but I was wondering yet how this connects, or is it just a cool thing that's just like, this was just this loop, but does it mean anything? Is it gonna mean anything later on? Is there gonna be a meet? Are we gonna start going multiversal? Is one Spidey gonna meet another? I don't know how they're gonna do it or if it's gonna mean anything. And that's why I said, this was the big twist, but now it's like the big twist of a question mark because I don't actually know if this is going to mean anything. But I think for them to even introduce this concept, I'd imagine means that they will play around with it. And
Hmm.
I'm intrigued to see how that looks like, especially when you have, the Into the Spider-Verse movies, which have played with that concept on an animated scale. We haven't seen an animated show from the MCU play with that yet, that much. Obviously, X-Men 97, being,
Yeah.
kind
Correct.
of having, well, not really actually, yeah, loosely, should I say. Um, but yeah, I'm intrigued to see if that plays a factor. I mean, but to actually delve into a little bit more regarding this episode, the Scorpion fight with Spidey, the rematch. This fight to me didn't hit for me as much as it did for you.
What?
It didn't feel as dire. It didn't feel as I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it as much as the first one. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that Lonnie is now in his real Tombstone era. I wasn't the biggest fan of that. I felt that obviously him getting his powers was one thing, but I think him then being able to hop in and suddenly he's a fighter now was
But he
something
was
that
always kind of a fight. I mean, he's a an athlete, right? So he knows how to
doesn't
brawl.
mean you can fight. Like that doesn't mean you
It's
can
the
fight.
kind of fighting that he does. Well, yeah,
Literally,
I
there's a
think
point
that's true.
where Spidey is about to get hit with Scorpion's tail, and Lonnie somehow is able to do some insane interception and catch the tail. I just didn't believe that. I thought like
Could be
that
a
to me.
football thing.
Maybe I just felt like that's true. That's a good point. I just felt like it was a bit too of a far fetch, like seeing
Hmm.
him square up and hitting Scorpion. Don't get me wrong. I do. I think the thing that does help with that is the fact that Scorpion in this show, the only thing making him super powered obviously is the suit. He's just a regular gang member. But I just felt like that was a bit, it was a bit tough for me. I think. But one thing I want to mention is regards to the suit. I like the suit. It looks bright. It looks colorful. It looks nice. My only
Which
pet
which
peeve with
suit are we
it
talking about? Because we
Spidey's new suit, excuse
Spidey.
me.
Yeah,
Um,
the good old blue and red, right? Or red
it
and
looks fantastic. My only pet peeve is that, like, could you have not made it different from the Tom Holland suit? Like, it's
no.
literally the Tom Holland suit, and like, I could have did with, I'm all for seeing a new take on these suits. It doesn't have to be so MCU based. Like, once again, the Insomniac Spider-Man games, they had a great, like, what was fun about that is that they took the suit and had a fresh new take on it, incorporating the white elements to it, which was different. I would have liked a different suit, but it's a small thing. And big shout out once again to Big D for his escape. I wonder if we'll ever
It's
see him again.
I didn't like that. I knew he was going to get they were going to get rid of him so Lonnie could like step up and become the leader and become like Tombstone, the gang leader. But that he just runs away is just
Yeah.
it's not enough. I wanted a bit more of a power struggle, maybe. It's just felt a little bit like, oh, quick, get him out of here. So we can focus on this other stuff. It felt a little bit too easy, I think, for Lonnie as well.
I agree. Don't get me wrong. I liked the moment where Scorpion was going to kill Big D and you saw the
Mm.
fear in his eyes. Like you really
Yeah.
did see the fear of, I'm about to die and I don't want to lose my life, and how that then did influence his decision. But yeah, I think it would have been better to then play on that and still have Lonnie and Big D. What would happen if maybe in that instance Lonnie was still, a bit more less afraid, and how that then, as you said, created that power dynamic. And so that was
Yeah.
yeah, that was a little bit. But I do look forward to see if Big D does make an appearance again. I definitely
Wow.
would not have said no. That's for sure. Quick thing I want to mention the fact that towards I think it's the end of episode 10, we see the Watcher. Did you see that?
Yes. And I've
Yeah.
realized like I've looked up a couple of like trivia stuff about it and the I guess the makers have the makers the people behind that the creative crew have said that this is kind of more an extended episode of What If, which fits. So like it makes sense as well because Hudson Thames voices the character, voices Spider-Man in the What If series as well.
Ah, I didn't know that.
So yeah, I didn't connect that either at first, and
Mm,
then yeah, looking it up. So yeah, it kind of makes sense for him to
mm.
appear, I guess, just to say like, oh, it's in the same sort of universe, I suppose.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, any other thoughts on these two episodes that you had?
Um, yeah, I'm not sure I liked Lonnie getting gassed to becoming Tombstone. I kind of this is wishful thinking, like obviously, but I kind of wanted something a little bit more like in, I guess Tim Burton's Batman coming to mind
It's
and
funny. I was literally just thinking the same thing.
like
Yeah.
how Napier becomes the Joker, right? It is connected to Batman. And it always feels much more interesting when even like Harry, I think, in the Spider-Man films in Raimi's, um, how the like Spider-Man connects with the villains. And it might have been interesting to see like how Lonnie and Peter are still friends.
Mm.
Maybe. But Tombstone and Spidey are mortal enemies. So it's just because Tombstone like blames Spidey for making him like this. But yeah, they didn't do that,
Mm.
so kind of a opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
do get what you mean. It did feel that whole sequence for me. It just felt. I know you from Big D making his exit to obviously to then Lonnie being in the truck, and because when that happened, I was like, "Ooh, what kind of device or gadget is he gonna find?" And then you're seeing that it was the gas, and I don't know how Tombstone becomes that classic color in the comics. I thought that he
Mhm.
was that gas was going to turn him a different color. Or as you said, it would have been a bit more interesting if it was related to Spidey.
Mm.
Um, obviously, I think one of the things that I definitely want to mention, like with this show, and I mentioned it last week, is that everything is moving at bullet fast
Oh,
pace. And it actually is working. That's the thing. Like it's so weird. Like usually with a show like for it to move at such a fast pace like this, like the world is opening up at such a fast pace. Characters are developing at such a fast pace. Like for example, the symbiote. Obviously, we saw the symbiote was here in the first episode, but now a piece of that symbiote is now at Oscorp, and how that is going to transpire. In terms of who will be the future, first host of that symbiote, if it will be a Venom, that does, well, I'd imagine because the symbiote's black, but I'd imagine it will be end up being a Venom, whether that will be a Eddie Brock or a Norman or a Harry. I don't know what route they're gonna take. Which is really cool. Obviously, Harry's starting his new company, and I know I see a lot of people talking about the list of names that he
yes.
had, and what that could potentially mean for people in the future.
So with the list, if I could, I found a site, Comic Book Club. I can link to it at the bottom, but they literally went through each name and like basically told us or tell us what the name means. Like a lot of these people are either Spider-Man related, like Ned Leeds, Max Dillon, or
Mm.
they are production crew, like a lot of artists behind the scenes, like either from Marvel or Disney. So there's it's a cool little Easter egg, I think, for people who know
Yeah.
what this means.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued to see from a storyline perspective and character development perspective what that does between the relationship of with Harry and Norman,
Hmm.
and how that potentially then expands on the relationship between Peter, Harry, and Norman. Because it seemed like at one point that Peter was about to tell Norman that, I'm actually starting to realize that it might be better for me to do this on my own. And obviously, you saw that moment, obviously, when Norman caused the incident at the end, that
Hmm.
Peter Norman's like, I promise I didn't mean for this to happen. And Peter's like, look, just leave. And I think we're going to it's going to be interesting starting to see how that relationship starts to unravel. But one thing, obviously, I did want to mention,
Hmm.
at least the final point from me, is we talked about at the beginning, obviously, the big twist. But I think depending on which one was bigger for you, the next big twist or the big twist is that Peter's daddy is still
Oh
alive
yeah.
and well. I mean, what was your thoughts on that? Because that took me by surprise.
I I don't know what to do with that because I mainly because I don't know what exactly kind of role he plays like in the comics. I think like there's an arc in the comics or like a plot in the comics where he is like a secret agent or something like that, which they took for the Amazing Spider-Man. So I'm curious what they are going to do with it, with him. But for now, I'm not as excited, I guess, just because I don't know like what the potential is there.
Yeah,
But there's definitely going to be some secretive stuff going on, I think.
yeah. I think that's the thing because I'm all for the new. I'm all for one of the great things I love about this show is taking what we know across Spider-Man lore, whether it be in the comics or whether it be in the MCU, and making adjustments, changing things, taking us on this new route. And I think the idea of Peter's dad being alive, like, what does that mean? Does Peter know his dad is alive? Has May been hiding that from him? Why is Peter's dad in prison? Is Peter then gonna go and see his dad? And what are we gonna get revealed? And that's exciting. I think there is an opportunity there to do
Yeah.
some really cool stuff, I mean, I can't wait for season 2. I just really hope that it's sooner rather than later, because these times between shows, and I know it's animated, so it's tough, but it's so good. You know what I mean? But any final thoughts you got before we go to our icy
Um,
review?
I did like Norman. Speaking of like going back to like characterization, I love the idea that he is a bit more gray, which I think mentioned for the last one. But he is essentially Tony Stark of this universe, only that he's,
A
um,
crook.
hey, no,
He is a
he
crook.
is a little bit misguided. Let's say that.
Misguided. He's a crook.
He's a bit of like he overreaches and like is a bit
Even
arrogant.
Tony was better than this guy. And I mean, in terms of morally, like, this guy is a crook. He has a good, he literally completely misguided these interns into basically building him this machine. All of the teachers, besides some, knew about it. He stole some of Peter's blood without him even knowing, to create
Okay,
this
that
spider. I mean, he is a crook.
his ways aren't great, and I'm
Ways.
defending Norman Osborn, but is like I think that's the point I'm trying to make. Like he's very gray. He's trying to do a good thing, protecting the world, and in his view, this is the way to do it, right? You need to cross a couple of boundaries to create this, like, I don't know, Spider-Man army, for example, or to create this portal of whatever it does. You need to kind of mislead a couple of your interns and not tell them exactly
Mislead.
what is happening.
I mean, I think a great example of this is the conversation that he does have with Otto. Like, I think that that's a great example of Norman at his core. That he is the person that wants to be better than everyone else. He is the one that wants to be the top dog. He
Yeah.
wants to rub it in people's faces. And and what he did to Otto, like, for example, like, he is a crook. Obviously, I do agree with what you mean. Like, every great villain ultimately believes that what they're doing is right,
Hmm.
but he's still a crook. He's a crook.
Well,
But
he
I
hasn't
love him
exactly
though.
like broken any laws yet. Yet.
I mean, he took blood from an adolescent child without them
That's
knowing.
fine. It might have been. We don't know like how he did it, right? He didn't never
It
say.
was when Peter was in hospital, and
Yeah.
Dr. Whitman said that they took some blood from Peter at the time, so that's when they did it.
So that could have been a completely legal thing of you have to draw blood if you go to the hospital.
Norman
An
Osborn is
official
a
thing.
crook. He always has been a crook, but he's an interesting crook. But yeah, yeah. I mean, that's right, yeah. But I mean,
Justice for Norman.
justice for
Okay.
Norman, indeed. I mean, any final thoughts? I
Except
mean,
justice for Norman? No.
justice for Norman. I mean,
Icy time.
yeah, so let's go to our IC review score. Obviously, we're going to give these episodes a IC review rating out of 10. So let's do it. Episode 9. How many ICs out of 10 will you give this episode?
I would give it an 8.5. I really enjoyed it. It pushes the story forward. It's just, yeah, the whole Big Don and Lonnie stuff, which kind of dragged it down a bit. But yeah, overall, a really good episode.
Okay, well, I'm actually going kind of one under. I'm going to a 7.5 ICs out of 10. And the reason why is because, for as much as I love this show, that episode for me, that the Scorpion part didn't hit me as much as I thought it would. And that did take up the majority of the episode. And so it kind of left me going. Even though still love the episode, I just thought that the episode wasn't as good for me. But episode 10, how many ICs out of 10 will you give this episode?
I will. Oh shoot, where's my rating? I will give this a 9 out of 10.
Ooh.
I love the reveal, like the big reveal of the circular thing that it's all like time travel stuff, wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. I loved like what it sets up. It like really makes me excited for season 2. So yeah, 9 out of 10.
And I echo those thoughts. However, I'm actually gonna go one down. I'm joking. I'm going one up. I'm going to 10 ICs out of 10 for episode 10. This was it. This was it. This was everything. I remember halfway through this episode, I checked the time of how much was left because I didn't want it to end.
Okay.
And I was in my mind, I was going, no, I wish this was an hour long. Like, I love that episode. It was just perfect. It had everything I wanted as a fan, the
Hmm.
surprises, the character developments, the story developments, giving us the little hints of what's going to happen later on. It had everything. This, for me, especially, was the episode where I went, this is the Spider-Man show of our generation, animated wise. This is it. We have reached the pinnacle, and long may it continue. So that will be our review done and dusted there for the entire series, season one
Are we
of Your
doing
Friendly Neighbor.
a little icy for the whole thing?
I mean, sure, let's do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go straight off the bat. I'm gonna go 9 ICs out of 10.
I'll actually, no, I'll go 0.5 below. I'll go 8.5, I think, for this first season. There were some things like how sometimes it did go away from Spider-Man, and we saw all these other people, which yes was interesting, but link it to Spider-Man just to because it's his show. But yeah, overall 8.5 out of 10 for me. For a pretty good start.
Pretty good is correct. You're going for 8.5 for this entire series. I'm going for 9 out of 10 for this entire series. So that will do it for our review of episodes 9 and 10, as well as the entire first season of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. If you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Drop down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts on these two final episodes and what you think could be coming in future episodes. Like, comment, share, do the full shebang. Once again, my name is Cameron. Time travel is a bitch, Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
Phil, it's the circle of bites, Corwin.
Oh, that's right. Don't give anyone a little spider bite, but a hickey will do, so I'm told. Once again, thank you very much for checking out our review today, guys, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
Bye.